Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sleepless Cinematic Podcast, where we explore our shared love for watching and discussing movies, recorded in the late after-work hours, often in lieu of a good night's rest. I'm Madeline.
I'm Julian.
And I'm Emilio. In addition to our theme cycle episodes we release every 2 weeks, we record one-off bonus episodes as we see fit. And we've seen fit this week to record one of these bonus episodes to talk about a recent theatrical release you've no doubt heard of. It's breaking box office records and is just about the biggest thing happening at the movies right now. We're talking Wicked, the big screen adaptation of the beloved Broadway musical.
We don't usually talk about new releases on this podcast, but we've indirectly discussed Wicked before, and we feel it's only fair to come back to that with our thoughts now having seen the movie. Earlier this year, we talked Crazy Rich Asians, John M. Chu, and a bit of Wicked the musical with our friends Emily and Tara on their show about all things Oz, Down the Yellow Brick Pod. If you'd like to listen to that, check for a link to it in this episode's description. We will have them back, sharing their thoughts and insights about Wicked coming up in just a few minutes.
We'll also be joined a little later in this episode by Courtney Iventosch, a Broadway triple threat who has spent several years of her performing career in the casts of Wicked the musical, both on Broadway and on the second national tour. So please stick around for that.
Before we invite these lovely humans to the conversation, let's go around here between the three of us and share a bit ourselves. We've all seen Wicked. What are our first impressions?
Yeah, no, I thought it was really something very, very special. I had a great time watching it. Madeline and I had our first viewing in the same theater at one of my personal favorite theaters in New York City, Village East Cinemas.
I'm so glad you guys saw it there.
Yeah, where specifically they have this one theater. If you go there, it's literally theater number one. You know, that building, it's constructed in, I think it's technically an old, like, Jewish community center, but it really has the look of an old movie house in there.
Yeah.
And so then as you are watching the movie, not only is it on this great big screen, but also because this movie specifically has some old-time Hollywood styling in its production logos and its title card, it really felt like it perfectly fit the surroundings. But then apart from the physical trappings that we were in, I mean, I think that the movie, you know, I'm a relatively new arrival to even knowing this story at all, Wicked, and I think that from what I do know about it, I thought the adaptation from stage to screen was pretty seamless for this part one. It felt like everything that was meant to be there was there. There were expansions that I thought worked very nicely. Yeah, I'm sure I'll say a few things more in a few moments and once we get into our chat with Emily and Tara, but I'll pass the torch along for now.
Yeah, I mean, my first impression of this movie was it was a ton of fun. As we discussed a while back in anticipation for this movie, John M. Chu, I think he completely succeeded in making a true blue spectacle of a film. And I don't naturally connect to what constitutes like a quote unquote spectacle at the movies these days all that much, just in terms of nothing pulls me out of a movie faster than excessive CGI.
Yeah.
And at times this movie did, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but with a few exceptions, the CGI wasn't really tied too much to the important emotional components of this movie. So I wasn't really taken out of it in that respect.
Yeah.
And so overall, I feel like there was so much to like about this movie. I think a lot was done practically too, which I thought was really quite charming. You could really see there's so much that's actually captured on camera. And I feel like there's so many ways that this movie could have gone so bad. I think it pretty much avoided almost all of them.
Yeah.
So I think everybody involved should be very proud of the work that they did on Wicked. I thought it was really good.
Absolutely.
I totally agree. I had a great time watching this film. I got kind of emotional because I was definitely, I think, more entrenched in Wicked mania back in the day than either of you were. And so it just really was extremely nostalgic for me because I had kind of gotten away from Wicked in the last decade or so. But it really took me back to high school theater and just thinking about the relationships I was building and the experiences that I was having when this show and this soundtrack were so important to me. So I really felt like it just brought me back. And so there are so many amazing moments that just feel so true to not just the content of the Broadway show, but like just the deep emotional feeling that I feel like this film is really able to get across. So yeah, I loved it. It was, I think, everything I wanted in this film. And is it a perfect film? No, but I feel like there are no perfect films. And like I think we may say later, like at this point, it's just like nitpicking details. But overall, I thought it was a beautiful experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how nostalgic, I love that you use that word, it must have been for a lot of people. The story itself lends itself so well to the idea of nostalgia too. This kind of feeling of you were once somebody and now you're somebody
Yeah.
else. It is kind
Mhm.
of a coming of age movie in a lot of
sure.
respects. That's awesome, actually. I didn't really consider
Yeah.
that.
Well, so we had a little bit of anticipation ourselves, as we talked about in our prior conversation with Down the Yellow Brick Pod, where we talked about Crazy Rich Asians. And then we also made passing mention of another John M. Chu directed film, In the Heights, which I individually have seen. Both are great movies in a lot of ways, but I kind of had a hunch in the months building up to Wicked Part 1 that of that three, that this was going to be my favorite. And I
Yeah.
think I was proven correct about that. You know, with the reputation that the story has and the very high bar to reach with it, I feel like it's just an innately very daunting task before you even have the finished product. And I feel like for all of the tricky things to balance and getting it done, that John M. Chu and everyone benefiting from his directorial guidance really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's a film that does so well in the theater also. I can't
yeah.
really imagine watching this at home on my couch. I probably will at some point whenever it is streaming, but
Yeah.
I really think for a first experience of this film, like you've got to catch it in the theater. And I think catching it in a sold out house just really adds to the experience. Like our theater was, applauding at all the points you would expect. And I think that really added to my enjoyment.
Yeah, even though I feel like applause in movie theaters is always kind of funny because there's usually not any performer to take it in, and yet it feels like the right thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think after the first musical number happened, the crowd just naturally applauded the same way they would if they were at the Broadway show.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Broadway show, Madeline, you mentioned when you actually saw the show in person that there were some people kind of distractingly singing along to some of the songs.
Yeah, behind us.
Yeah, and I admittedly wondered, is that going to happen when we see it?
But in our theater, it did not.
Luckily, yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I do wonder if the fact that we saw it at Village East, maybe decreased the likelihood of people singing along. I think maybe you would be more likely to get that at a Regal or an AMC.
Yeah.
But I do think as much as people kind of feel the temptation, there's a lot of pressure to like allow everyone to have this experience together and to not be the person that's going to ruin it. So
makes a lot of sense. I got to say too, just on a personal note, for whatever reason, Gabriel, my son, in the last, 10 days has gotten really into Frozen. And so I have these two Idina Menzel led IPs just merged in my brain. We are listening to Let It Go a comically high number of times per day now.
Wow.
So like Defying Gravity and Let It Go right now are like all the same song, which I find is kind of hilarious. The timing of this couldn't have been more bizarre and also great.
Yeah.
Any last things that we want to add?
No, I'm really excited to, I think, get into our conversations with these lovely people who are so much more of experts in the world of Oz and the world of Wicked.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
same here. So why don't we do that? Let's head over and get EmKay and Tara on the horn.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our discussion about the hit film Wicked. And no discussion about Wicked is complete without the addition of our resident experts on all things Wizard of Oz, and thus all things Wicked. We were delighted to have these two Oz enthusiasts join us earlier this year to discuss the film that started it all. So of course we had to have them back to discuss this major moment in Oz history. They're performers, educators, and all-around lovely humans. Please welcome back to the show EmKay and Tara of Down the Yellow Brick Pod. Welcome.
Thank you, friends.
Thank you guys for joining
Thanks
us
for having
again.
us back.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.
again.
Yeah, this is very exciting. I can't imagine there being two people that we'd like to speak to more
Aw.
in regards to this
Well,
film.
we are honored.
Yes.
And I really appreciate you guys fitting us in, because I know that you are discussing Wicked and Oz like all around the clock these days. I'm sure it's a very, very busy time for you. So
we're living our
so
dream
excited.
life. Living our dream life.
It's a fever dream. Like, how is this real right now? We made it.
Yeah.
Well, we are super excited for you guys. And again, super grateful that you have joined us here. We're going to start real quick by just asking your gut reaction coming out of your very first screening of the movie. How did you guys feel?
Tara, you saw it first.
Do you want me to kick it off?
Yeah.
Okay. I was in LA at the Wicked premiere, and it was one of the most insane audiences I've ever been a part of. I keep saying about that experience, it felt like my For You page on Instagram. I was just living in it. So like all these people I see on my little tiny screen were just there in person. So that's sort of out of body. And like, you know, Pommel Horse Steve was just next to me getting drinks, like just wild experience. So seeing it with all these people who've been anticipating it for so long with the cast in the room, it's just a whole wild experience. But this was also just a couple days after our election results. And it just hit like Wicked is the balm, the medicine, I think right now for understanding where we're at with our own politics here in America. Like it just felt like right now, if I look at my phone, it's like horrifying news about Trump going into power, not to get political, but Trump going into power, and it's Wicked. It's like there's these two crazy worlds, but Wicked really feels
one or the other.
Like medicine right now. And that was my gut reaction, is like, I really needed this. I cried several times, and also holding the hands of friends who just have been waiting for this for so long. And then finally getting to see it with Em, we had no blood left in our hands because we were squeezing each other's hands for so long. I think that's what it's about, is like the people that you get to experience this with and what that does for your relationship with that person allows you to talk about things, open up about things, because the movie is so elegantly doing it. That's for me, like the gut reaction is this is medicine right now.
I love
That's
that.
awesome. How about you, Emily?
Yeah. So my first viewing was with Tara, which was so special. We were running. It was like one of the Amazon Prime early screenings.
Yes. Yeah.
And our dear, was it an usher or a concessions worker? They didn't.
I've thrown him under the bus.
I know, they didn't
so many times.
mean to lie. They thought there would be more
But they lied.
previews. And so I was coming from work and ran.
There were no previews.
There were no previews. So we were outside just
No
like
previews. They just started.
lollygagging, being like, woo! And then we hear applause. We hear Ari singing. So we scramble. We run panicked inside.
Oh my God.
So it took me a few viewings to finally see the beginning. But honestly, that first viewing, I think, was overwhelm. As I told Tara and as I said on our pod, I thought that first scene had 10 bears in it. There's one bear. Like, it was a lot to process.
But the one bear is a very large present.
The one bear was a large present, so maybe that's why I thought...
I was like, what are you watching, Goldilocks?
Who knows? I really think it's taken me 3 viewings to really be able to, like, calm down, let it soak in, be able to see everything. But my gut reaction was just, this is astounding. This is beautiful. Every musical number I felt like got better and better. And of course, I love what Tara said. Like, who you get to see it with is really special. And my family over in California actually saw it that same night. And we've had so many FaceTimes about it. So I just love the conversations. I feel like everyone in my life is texting me about Wicked. And I want to thank the good Lord for that.
Yeah, it's like Sam from 7th grade is like, saw Wicked,
No,
and like ... And you're like, oh, Sam from 7th grade wants to know what I think about Wicked because they know it matters. Like, it's like people are coming out of the woodwork too, which is kind of amazing.
Sam from 7th grade.
I feel like we all have a Sam from 7th grade that like just pops up randomly. Yeah. Well, that is wonderful. I'm so glad it was such a positive, reaction for you guys. I'm kind of curious. You mentioned about, seeing it with other people and being kind of in the Oz space, that there is so much anticipation about this movie. And I'm curious, how is the broader Wicked fan community responding to the movie?
I've heard nothing but positive. Yeah. I think all great
good.
things.
There aren't any like weird people that are coming out that are like, well, like they really screwed this up. Not that we have to like dwell on that, but I'm just curious.
I have been pretty present online lately with like what's going on. I guess that's how people are like deciphering through like how this movie's response, how it's landing. And I think it's overwhelmingly positive from the fans. And there's like little things. Like we had little things. But like the little things are still amazing because we're talking about like, okay, what ifs? And then it just causes more fun conversation. But overwhelmingly, I really think because of their casting of Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, they just nailed it because of the emotions that they bring to it. And I really just don't think you can't be on board with their interpretations of these characters in this new way. The only like real like negative stuff I've seen is the stuff we were going to see, like people being like, this is witchcraft. Like I've seen some of that happen and like that shouldn't be, but that's not Oz people. You know what I mean? If you can't be an Oz person if you don't like witches, you just can't.
No, so you'd have to leave that at the door.
There's been that, of course.
Yeah, that takes me back to like the fundamentalism I would hear about Harry Potter like 15 to 20 years ago.
Or like the Star Wars fan purism sort of stuff.
Sure, yeah. I think what is interesting right now, as someone who's like standing at a lot of different intersections right now too in the Oz world, because I'm a bookseller as well in a store that specializes in Oz. So we're having a lot of influx for Wicked right now, but it's a lot of people who do not even know it's not meant for children. It is definitely an adult novel. Yeah. So that's a whole new thing too that I think the Wicked lore is dealing with, is just the whole origin is getting really muddied, I think. So there's a lot of new people coming into this who want to be educated. Right. So there's a lot of education happening on social media. It's all wild because Wicked is a very unique entry point into the Oz world because it is fan fiction, essentially. And Wicked the musical is an adaptation of a book that is a fan fiction of another property. So it's just like that lineage, like that is wild. And what people believe and think and how passionate people get, that has been fun to see on the internet. But yeah, overwhelmingly positive, I think, from the fans.
Yeah. Yes. That lineage is what's funny, especially for friends and family of mine who like know of Wicked or maybe saw it way back in the day, since now it's been around for a few decades. Of like, there's the book, there's the musical, there's the original novels.
It's a multiverse.
Now it's a movie. And then there's cameos in the movie, spoiler. And what I was going to say is I've been surprised by people kind of outside the Oz world, I guess, or maybe who love Oz but don't know. Like, they didn't know there was a part 2 of this film. That was like a huge
My dad.
That's
thing.
wild.
Like, even when we left the theater the first time, our usher was like, now we know there's a part 2. And we were like, we kind of had
someone's new to the party.
And just people asking me like, well, how is the first act or the first part almost 3 hours? Like, what did they do? And to me, I'm like, it goes by so fast.
Exactly. That was something that really struck me. And I think we kind of talked about when we were on your pod, we were like, how are they going to stretch it out to nearly 3 hours? What are they going to add?
Yeah.
I love that they did that because I still think it moves along at a really nice pace, and they didn't have to add that much. It's just, I think the magic of film allows you to kind of linger a little bit longer as opposed to on stage, possibly. Yep.
And nothing was cut musically. Yeah. There would have been chop-tastic surgery happening on the score if they had made it one film. Like, we would not have Something Bad. We would not have Sentimental Man. Like, all of that would go. And I'm so glad it's not gone because that always happens in a musical to movie adaptation. There's always something that gets cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sure. So I think that's a good way to segue into a question that I had for you guys, which is, what do you think are some of the benefits of this story finally coming to film, like as a medium over the stage that it's been on for so many years? Like, how does the camera work or the editing or the CGI add to the telling of this story in new and exciting ways?
Yeah. I think for me, first and foremost, it's these close-ups of the actors' faces. Mm-hmm. I mean, we got to shout out our girl,
Julian and I said
Ari.
too.
Ari crushed it. Like, the last time I went by myself. The theater was packed, and as I was leaving, I just heard people be like, Ari. I mean, loving everyone, but people just being like, wow, that I was not expecting her to play that role to such perfection and in her own way. And I think we get these expressions on Glinda's face in particular that in the show, it's a lot more subtle. And in the movie, we just get to see more of what Glinda's actually going through, like at the end of Defying Gravity, moments where on stage, Glinda's not the focus. She's kind of like facing upstage. So I love that. I think
Mhm.
all of the animal CGI, even though at first it it threw me for a loop,
It takes you
I
a
think
second.
it takes a second.
That might be like my one quibble, but that's just
No,
me. But
I
continue.
totally get it. Seeing animals talk and sing at first is like, whoa, okay, yes, I'm in this world. So I think
It's one of those things where you're like, there's no way they're going to put like people
Yeah,
in like animal.
That's where I go to. It
you
can't
know,
be
they're
that.
not gonna
it
do
can't be that.
But that's actually the thing about the theater show or like musical on stage, that it kind of works. There's no way for them not to do the opposite on
Right.
stage.
Right.
Yeah, I think when I first saw Dr. Dillamon in one of the previews, I was like, "Oh, he's an actual
He's a goat.
Like
Yeah,
it's
this
not
time
like
he's
a
gonna be a goat.
human
I love
animal."
So cute. He's so cute.
He's my favorite. And also just want to shout out, he is an exact replication of the original artist, Douglas Smith, who did some art for the original Wicked novel. He is literally that. Like if you look at his little
That's so
portrait
cool.
he gets, it's such a beautiful nod to the book, which there's not a lot of nods to Maguire's work, but that is one.
I love that.
So like big points on it for
Yeah.
accuracy.
Yeah.
Yes, big points.
I don't know. That was like the first real disconnect for me in an otherwise really positive experience, by the way. So
I got you.
Keep going.
No, yeah, I think just
Yeah.
obviously in the stage show, the animals are such a huge part of the plot, and in the book, it goes even deeper. So I feel like I'm really glad that something bad was fleshed out. There's more animals. We get to see more of what's going on. And I heard people leaving the theater when I went asking questions about that, who I guess haven't seen the stage show, being like, wait, how are the animals in the stage show? And people being like, it's a person, like with a costume.
Yeah.
And it blew people's minds. So I think that's really cool. And then lastly, I would say the dance sequences. There's just so much more that you can do. I feel like Popular is a standout, as well as Dancing Through Life. Like that whole library hamster wheel situation we've got going on.
Which I keep listening
Yeah.
to these interviews with John M. Chu, and he hates the term hamster wheel. He's like, I wish people would stop saying hamster wheel. He's been calling it like a tornado
Love
wheel.
that.
I
Okay,
think
we'll
is
call it
what
that.
I wrote down.
Okay.
Maybe he's thinking more like a 2001 A Space
Yes.
Odyssey sort of like
That's cool.
There you go, Julian. I
yeah,
like that.
like, like a space station wraparound
But
sort
yes,
of thing.
that scene is
It's
crazy, and the
amazing.
way that they film it is crazy.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
There's that one shot with the dancer that's like hopping through and then like jumps and the camera spins.
It's so cool.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's so cool. And I saw an interview where they said that is one shot. That's not cut together. They actually had to like take their camera and spin it. And the choreographer told them they only had 4 takes because otherwise the dancer is at a point where they could injure themselves.
Right,
so they really
exhaustion
like
or-
had to get it right very quickly.
Wow.
I
believe it.
That is it for me.
Yeah.
I like hearing about details like that.
That's it for me, that we get to see these numbers in an up close and personal way, these beautiful production numbers, and also character driven songs in a way we've never seen them before. I said to Em, I was like, what a revelation. Elphaba can walk really fast while she sings. Like she can go places while she can march up a staircase while she's discovering that she's going to take flight. She can go out into a field and have a moment of levitation, and that like there's just so much more possibility. I think what's so amazing about the stage show is that there's limited ways to show things and get people into things, but with the film there's so many options. And it's almost like you're working with more for the film and you're working with less for the stage show. And I think both of them nail how to use both of what is available to them. And that's the big thing. I think nothing takes away from either. I think they're literally just complementing each other. Because there are moments, I was trying to think of like, what do I prefer in the stage show? And that actually is a little challenging to answer because I do think the movie is so fantastic. But nothing will ever take away Defying Gravity. Nothing will ever take that away from what's happening at the Gershwin 8 times a week and on the road 8 times a week. It's just, that's what's so cool to me. It's just getting to see the little tiny choices that can never happen on a stage.
Right. And I feel like Defying Gravity.
Yeah, what is this feeling was
Yeah.
one that Defying Gravity obviously is crazy. And I mean
crazy.
watching behind the scenes of that with Cynthia Erivo like singing live while she's in this harness is I can't comprehend.
Absolutely
it,
insane.
legitimately.
Yeah, like a different species of human.
Yeah, there's no one else who could have played this role. She is like a Marvel superhero musical theater superstar. Like there's just like, she's both of those things. And it's just so perfect that she came together to make this one witch, which is amazing. I do think sometimes, Em and I have talked about this, because they did live singing. I sometimes wish the sound was more overpowering in the theater, but I've also heard that is an experience that can change going to theater. The most recent time I went to go see it, our projector was so dark that I could barely see the film. I was like, ah! So that's another thing that I think is happening with this film that I hope people know. It's like, if they have an experience like that, I think sometimes it is on the theater, not just the movie itself. It's on the projection, it's on the sound system in that specific theater.
That's a very good point. And I had forgotten that this movie was also being released in 3D. Until I went to buy tickets. And I felt like watching it, there were a few spots that I was like, taken back 10 plus years to when you would go see a movie that's meant for 3D, but you'd see it in 2D and you'd see like the things that will be 3D things that are supposed to be like flying at your face. I kind of felt that sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
That's Oz the Great and Powerful.
Yeah.
Yes, we know that world.
That movie was made for 3D.
Yeah. We're seeing it in 40X tonight.
Yeah, you guys are seeing in 40X tonight. That's
I can't wait. Barf. Are we gonna like throw up? I'm a little like nervous for motion sickness.
I'm honestly a little bit scared. And my sister saw it and she was like, the monkeys almost took me out. It gets pretty intense.
Yeah, we definitely are gonna need an update from you guys because I'm just so curious. Em, you mentioned to me that there's supposed to be smells, and that's just it's so confusing to me. What does Oz smell like?
Great question.
That's true. Don't fall asleep.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is there like emerald, like an actual spice that's called that or something like that? I don't know that it's a spice.
I think it would just be a gemstone, right?
Sometimes these names get conflated in my head where it's like they are associated with some kind of scent 100%. Even though they don't in nature apply to that.
Right. Maybe it's like paint colors or something.
Julian, maybe you're thinking of emerald fennel, and then you're thinking of like fennel, the spice.
Fennel, yep.
Well, yeah, who is neither emerald nor fennel, who is a film director.
That's true.
Yeah, whose name just sounds like ingredients.
That's amazing.
But shifting gears, so I think, Tara, it was you who said something about Cynthia Erivo specifically, or Tara and Em both. I was really curious to see what kind of spin she gave on Elphaba, and I was extremely impressed with the results. And I think one of the traits that really makes this such an affecting performance is that you really feel that you can relate to her. And I think that all of these things that we've already talked about, like the close-ups and, just the extended time that we get with the character, getting this, filmic exposure, I think really helped to cement the relatable aspects of Elphaba. And I kept thinking throughout watching, we've talked a lot about craft to this point, but to really think about a content question, it goes into the premise of this story that we're taking a famous villain and flipping her to become a protagonist. And I kept asking myself, well, if someone's experiencing Wicked Part 1, not having seen The Wizard of Oz, not knowing what happens in Part 2, I mean, is Elphaba really such a villain? So I just kept asking myself, watching the movie, like, can we consider her an anti-hero, or is that just the wrong term for her? What do you both think?
Wow, really great question. I think this is going to have 18 different answers, like so many different answers. And I think it is what you just said, like it's based on your entry point into this world. If you're seeing the redemption, if you're seeing the misunderstood, to understand why she became that way. What I like to go back to, just to put this out in the world, is this amazing clip of Margaret Hamilton on Mr. Rogers when she was doing the good
I've seen that.
Lord's work, like saying like, hey, I'm just playing pretend, because this sweet little old lady at this time, like she was now entering her elder years, Margaret Hamilton, was just trying to share with children that this is pretend, and make that very clear for them. And it's so sweet. She had a really horrific appearance on Sesame Street that went the other way. She just scared children more. So this was another way to like kind of clean that up. But what she does so amazingly in this interview, it's almost like a seed is planted for Wicked in this interview, is say like, have empathy for the witch. She never gets what she wants. How awful to live through life, never getting what you want. It always touches me. So I come back to that, like that there's always a million sides to every story. And I think that's what this is asking us to do. And I've talked to some people who are literally coming into Wicked not knowing anything. And they just see her as a hero. They're like thinking Glinda's a villain right now because they see Glinda shifting back to the Morrible land at the end of this, and they don't know what's coming next. And I think that's fine. I think Elphaba is such a complex hero. I think there's no I don't think she's a anti-hero. I don't think she's a hero. I think she's a human before a hero. So that's where I'll stand with it.
Well said.
Yeah, it's funny. I at my last screening, I left the theater and I heard these two people talking, and one of them, I love her. I have a Valley Girl voice, but she had the best Valley Girl voice. She was like, "Well, is Elphaba really wicked, or is that just the perception of her?" And I was like, "That is what it's all about."
Great question.
I was like, "You sound like me." I think that's where I land with her, is that's what we've kind of spent a lot of time, especially when we went through the musical, talking about, is like, and the book, is these characters are just making that decision in the moment that then like led to the next. And especially in the film, I feel like the addition of the hot air balloon scene where they almost escape, they almost make it out. Are we allowed to talk spoilers on this?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. At this stage, go for it. Yes, that is a spoiler.
Spoiler alert for Wicked.
Yes. When Elphaba and Glinda are, they're about to escape on this hot air balloon, I really had that moment of like, wow, what if they had escaped? What could they have done together as witches? What good could they have brought to Oz? What would have happened?
Right at EmKay.
I know, that could be a whole other trajectory. So I think it just reminds me, and that's kind of something we landed on when in our discussions, was like, sometimes life doesn't go the way we thought, or things happen to us, and then we have to make the next best decision. And to some, it's a villainous choice. To some, it's a heroic choice. It really just, a lot of it is out of our control.
Yeah, I like that you're putting emphasis on the choice, because like Tara was kind of alluding to, there are people online being like, Glinda's a villain, like she's not a girl's girl. But it's they each are put in kind of an impossible situation. Where they just have to like make the choice that's they feel is right in that extremely stressful moment. Yeah. So I think that we should give both of them some grace and allow the story, to finish itself. People shouldn't jump to any conclusions quite yet if they're not familiar with the rest of the story.
Nice.
And we might not be familiar with the rest of the story. Like, we don't know how they're going to change it up for Wicked Part 2. And I keep doing that. I keep putting it myself in the shoes of Glinda, because I have said this since I think we started talking about Wicked back in 2023. I think most of us are Glinda. Like the world, most of us are Glindas. Elphabas are rare. People who stand up and say, I'm going to live in isolation because I don't agree with how the world is working. Those people are rare. And this is the whole point of Wicked, is like, is that better? Like, or are you missing like love because you choose that? And are you missing like connection with others and community? But she doesn't stand for what is happening. So I think most of us are Glindas. I don't know if someone put a broom in my face and she just made this broom be able to fly and like, it like just minutes ago, I don't know if I would hop on. Like, I think most of us would say, I hope you're happy. Like, I think most of us would do that. Like, I don't think a lot of us would get on that broom. And I think,
and even for Elphaba, there's like a learning curve to the flying. Like, it takes her a second. So if she had another person on that broom with her,
right,
could have been a disaster.
That would have been tough. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't.
They might have just dropped like a brick. Yeah.
Right. But what Wicked does in a broader sense too is just, most of us are coming in and out of other people's lives all the time, right? And that's life. Like, we are close with someone for a certain amount of time, and then there's a natural split. And I think it shows why those natural splits have to happen and are healthy sometimes. And you have to do what's best for you at the end of the day. And I love that is so clearly cemented into the end of Defying Gravity.
Yeah. Nice. What you brought up about why you feel like the world is predominantly made up of Glindas, I think that, that's the power of a story like this, is it kind of shows you the road less traveled and whatnot. And I do think there's a lot of power in that. I wanted to ask you guys, being so entrenched in the Oz world, did you guys have a favorite Easter egg?
Ooh, Tara, you go first.
There's so many.
I know.
There's so many beautiful Stephen Schwartz musical Easter eggs like everywhere, just glittering about the score. I really appreciate the add-on to One Short Day that if you only had to just give a nod to the if I only had a. I love that.
Oh, nice.
So
wow.
good.
Okay.
I love that there are a lot of Bomb Book and Return to Oz popular references, like Mombi is alluded to as a professor at Shiz. She's from the Bomb Books and made iconic in Return to Oz, the 80s cult classic. And you could catch Ozma headdresses in the Ozdust Ballroom. That is so cool. If you know, you know. Ozma is kind of the original Princess Leia. She wears these huge buns with flowers and they're just amazing.
Okay.
So you can catch that in the background. But one that I found out only from an interview with Cynthia and Ariana on fashion was that the little nightgown that Cynthia wears in What Is This Feeling? It's probably Nessa's nightgown, also, just to put that out there, because she's not meant to be staying there. So she's probably borrowing her sister's clothes. There's little Cairn Terriers embroidered into the nightgown, and Elphaba's hair are in 2 braids. So she has like little Totos on her while giving this like Dorothy imagery.
Oh, cool.
And I just love Dorothy and Elphaba are one and the same. We always talk about this. Like, they are 2 girls who don't fit into the worlds that they are dropped into in very different ways. But they both are reaching, right? They both want to literally fly. Like, that's what Dorothy says. If little bluebirds can fly, why can't I? So it just to have that connection too, to have like the Dorothy and Elphaba be seen is so empowering. And that's such a big Easter egg that I would not have noticed if not for an interview. Like, it had to go that deep, something I would not have got.
Sure. Yeah.
As Tara said, there are so many. We had a Patreon party last week where I learned so much from everyone who has seen it. Some that stand out to me of like little nods. I love that Alice Fern gets a moment. She plays Glinda's mom in one of those earlier scenes, and she is a former West End Elphaba in Wicked.
Cool.
So I just love that. It's my dream to have everyone who's played Elphaba and Glinda make a cameo. I don't think that'll happen, but I'm here for that.
We do think Norbert, Leo Butz, and Christopher Fitzgerald are going to be in part 2. We have
original Fiyero and Bach. I have a feeling.
Yes.
Not to.
Okay,
I don't know anything. I promise.
We don't know anything, but we have a feeling.
I love the ruby slipper moment in Popular when Glinda takes the ruby slippers and clicks the heels together. I think that is absolutely genius. Tara may have already mentioned Alma Clutch is a character from the original
That's a good one.
Wicked book who is like listed on the dormitory scroll. Tara pointed out, she's like, Alma Clutch.
Fun.
Oh my gosh, she's like a really big character in the first book.
Huge in the McGuire book, yeah.
And I just visually, I love that at the end of Defying Gravity, we get that Broadway specific look where the cape is really long and big.
Yeah.
I think that is so cool. I love the nod to MGM of the lion cub getting put into the basket and her Elphaba, bicycling away.
The logo, the MGM.
The logo.
You're talking about the very beginning?
Yes.
Oh yeah, the font.
Oh my God, so good.
That is perfect. So those are some of my faves.
Very evocative. Like, you see it and you feel something right away.
Yes.
And with that font, I mean, Madeline and I caught our first viewing in this at Village East Cinemas, which I don't know if you all have been there, but their screen number 1 at that theater is this great big old movie house looking
I love
kind
that
of room.
one. That's a good one.
And it's like one of my favorite places
theater
to see a movie in New York. And then to have like that physical setting and then that old time font comes on for the title. It's just like, it's perfect.
And I think the Universal logo they used at the beginning is their Universal logo from way back in the day, like of Wizard of Oz, MGM time, which is genius. Thank you.
And then we've already talked a little bit about anticipation for part 2. And I anticipate as well that we all will probably come together again in a year's time to have the same kind of discussion then. But what are your initial thoughts prognosticating about a year from now? What do you think is going to be in store for us with part 2? Are you excited? Are you concerned?
Concerned, deeply concerned.
Julian, your vocabulary, I love it. Teach me your ways. Oh my gosh, we were getting a little bit into this on our pod. I'm personally I'm barely ready to put myself there because I feel like I'm still in my I'm going to see Wicked 100 times era. Part 1.
Yeah, you're seeing it in 40x.
Still seeing it in 40x
I get it. You're still processing the first one. Yeah.
Tara and I we've talked about how are they going to do, I guess one concern is
they have so much work.
There's a lot
to
of
do
work,
in part 2.
especially with the timeline of like the difference between Act 1, Act 2, how much time has passed, how are they going to make that work?
I do think the fact that they will be able to flesh out Act 2 a little bit more will help with that.
They could do flashbacks.
Right. The benefits of stretching it out the way that they did for part 1 will also be there for
There's
part 2.
some clips we've seen in trailers, like the wedding, some sort of wedding scene that were very like, is that a dream? Is that real? Are they going to go there?
Oh, it's
we talked
real.
about that when we were on your podcast talking Crazy Rich Asians, because that film has such an iconic wedding scene.
Yeah.
Is Madame Morrible going to wear the Crazy Rich Asians emerald on her finger?
Please.
I would like that.
Great question.
I would like to see an appearance.
And speaking of Madame Morrible and Easter eggs, I mean, I think, Tara, it might have been you who said something about a multiverse earlier. And I just have to think, what if this is all just another multiverse in the Everything Everywhere All at Once canon?
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
My brain would explode. I mean...
She was like a big movie star,
Wow.
Yeah.
I saw a meme that was like, what if
wild.
at the end of part 2, Alexander Hamilton walks up, takes the witch's hat, and then the musical theater multiverse begins? I was like, oh God.
Oh my God.
What?
Oh God, I have chills. I'm here for it.
Let's do it.
It makes no sense.
It makes no
but I
sense.
love it so much.
That would be very like Marvel DC though. Like they're like,
let's
this
just go.
keeps
Let's
rolling.
make the money.
Like,
Well, I think I'm with Like I think the biggest concern is some of this doesn't really make sense when you really think about it from the musical. Because which we have done. We spent a whole season dissecting the musical. The time jump between Act 1 and Act 2 is so unclear.
Yeah.
We have read different reports, like in books about Wicked, saying like it's only a couple months, it's 6 months between Act 1 and Act 2.
It's like,
It makes
how?
no sense. Even 2 years feels too little. But then she also says like she's trying to get the monkeys out of Emerald City. It's like this should not have taken her 2 years. So there's a lot of things that just feel like, what? Like it doesn't add up. And then if you really do the work on thinking about MGM Oz happening in Act 2, right? Like that's the one we're thinking of happening. Plugging in that timeline with like the fact that we know who the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman are, and them having those things happening at the same time. We made a big joke reel that went viral, which is our first viral experience on the internet. But it was so silly, and it's also blowing people's brains because if they don't know, they don't know, and if they do know, they do know. If we're thinking about it, I'll use this as an example. If you're thinking about it, the Wicked Witch of the West throws Dorothy into her imprisonment with the hourglass, correct? Right? That happens in the MGM.
Right.
yeah. Yeah,
If you're
the
thinking
red sand.
MGM, if you're thinking MGM timeline, Dorothy is listening to For Good happen right next to her.
And she's like, oh my
If
God.
you really think about it, yes, and she could be like, oh my God, Glinda, like help. Like there's so many things that can happen there. But that's what's tricky, and like they're gonna have to justify so much. But I trust them implicitly.
Sure.
Like I'm not scared.
Totally.
I don't think they're gonna get it wrong or anything. I just think it's a really hard mantle that they have to live up to. I think part 2 is so much harder than part 1. Part 1 is like Act 1 of Wicked is pretty perfect.
Yeah.
Like you could honestly end it Defying Gravity.
Yeah, I think that was the question people had when we found out it was being split into 2 parts. Is we were like, well, part 1's going to be great, obviously, because Act 1 is fantastic. How's part 2 going to go? It doesn't have necessarily a Defying Gravity kind of moment. So
No Good Deed is close.
It's close,
and I think like
yeah.
the sentiments of it. But what is crazy to me is like in Act 2 when like Elphaba's with Fiyero and she's like, oh, I hear my sister in the wind. Wait, what, girl?
Excuse
and
me.
then we're jumping into that. Like it's just so fast. So I'm excited that they get to take their time.
Yeah.
I don't want that in part 2 in the movie. I want them to take their time. I want to see time pass. I want these women to be in their mid-30s.
Yes.
Like at the end. Like that's what I would like.
Yeah, because they are as actresses in their 30s. So allow them to age up.
Yes.
I'm also like, what is Miss Coddle? Is she gonna? Well, we were saying like, are some of these shiz characters?
You know my theory.
Yeah. Like, what are some of these shiz characters? What are they gonna be in Act 2? Like Fanny and Shen Shen, you better be there. We need more Bo and Yang. We need more Bronwyn.
They absolutely are gonna keep Bo and Yang around.
You have to. I feel like No Good Deed. I need to spiritually prepare myself for Cynthia's performance.
John is
of that.
already teasing that. He's already teasing that no one is ready, no one's ready for that.
I feel like
I'm
we are
not
not
ready.
ready. It's going to be astounding. For good, I'm not okay already.
Gosh.
I'm unwell.
Oh God!
will
Like
be
if all the
bawling.
crying of the press tour, like I can't even. Like all the crying of the press tour can be held and for good. Like it's just going to be.
Well,
we're all going to be buckets.
We're holding space for the lyrics of For Good.
We're holding space for the lyrics of For Good. If you know, you know.
Mhm.
As it's being made abundantly clear here, you guys are full of thoughts, full of knowledge about this. Where can people go to hear more?
You can hear hours upon hours, days upon days of content over anywhere you listen to podcasts. Down the Yellow Brick Pod. Search us wherever you listen to podcasts. We are on Instagram at Down the Yellow Brick Pod. We're on Patreon.
And TikTok-ish.
We're a little bit on TikTok.
Just dabbling
around. Come say hi, come listen. We'd love to talk with you.
You guys have got me pumped for part 2. Thank you guys so much. I know, like we said at the top, you guys are literally on your own press tour. So the fact that you made some time for us, we feel so special.
I'm in my pajamas, Emilio.
That is high praise, sir.
Well, whatever you may be wearing at this moment, we just want to say thank you so much for making time for us. And good luck with the 40X
We will
experience.
report back.
We'll do a voice memo.
update.
We'll send you. Yeah, we'll send you a voice memo.
We'll let you know.
Amazing.
Hello, Sleepless Cinematic listeners. EmKay here. Just adding on to this episode as Tara and I got to go see Wicked in 4DX in Times Square after we recorded this episode. Seeing Wicked in 4DX is quite the experience. We were in seats that moved side to side, forward and backwards, just like an amusement park ride. We had our 3D glasses on, so the entire film was in 3D. I have to say, the epic defying gravity scene made the entire ticket price worth it for that alone, okay? There are flashing lights on the side of the theater. There is air blowing into your face. We heard rumors that there were supposed to be smells. We did not smell anything other than the popcorn in our laps, but perhaps other viewers at other theaters got that experience, so we're still curious what Oz smells like, but especially in the action-packed scenes, the moments when Elphaba does magic, the chase scenes with the monkeys, it's definitely worth it to see it in 4DX and just have a completely new, surreal experience seeing Wicked. I would highly recommend.
Okay, guys, our next guest has been a dear friend of my wife Elizabeth's for almost a decade now. I first met her when she and Elizabeth were swings in the original Broadway cast of Something Rotten, a show I still very much ride for, by the way. I was constantly blown away by you both night in and night out because swinging a show is literally a high wire act. I don't know how you gals do it. It's an honest to goodness superpower. So we've known her for almost 10 years, but Wicked has known her for even longer. She's put that swing brain to work on Wicked's second national tour. And after her time in Something Rotten, she went back to the show for a lengthy stint as an ensemble member and Nessa Rose understudy 8 times a week on Broadway. And she still performs at the highest level all over the country, bringing a wealth of Wicked-related perspective everywhere she goes. Most importantly, her friendship, even from afar, has meant so much to Elizabeth and I, and our son too, for years now. So on a personal note, it is delightful to have Courtney Iventosch join us on the Sleepless Cinematic podcast to talk Wicked. Courtney, thank you so much for being up to this.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to the show.
Absolutely. It's funny because in all the years that I've known you, I don't think we've ever talked Wicked before, right?
I think that might be true, which is kind of funny. But
Yeah. I know. We're going to make up for lost time, I think.
Perfect. Yes.
How did you come to Wicked? I'm curious to know about your involvement with the show. Like, what's it been like over these years? Can you get a little bit more into that?
Yes, definitely. So I first joined the second national tour. At the time, there were 2 tours. There is now just one. But back in 2010 was when I first auditioned and joined the show as a swing, as you mentioned, Emilio. So I understudied all of the women ensemble tracks. And I did that for about 1.5 years. And then I switched to, at the time, the first national tour and did the Witch's Mother track for about 1.5 years. So that was kind of my first intro to Wicked, was those like 3 years from 2010 to 2013. And then I took a little break from Wicked, not really intentional, but it just kind of happened that way, and did Something Rotten, where I met Elizabeth and you, Emilio. And then I ended up going back into Wicked in the New York company, kind of going back and forth between a few different tracks from about 2016 through 20, really until COVID hit. And then I had the extreme honor of being able to be a part of the reopening cast, which was really, really special. So that was cool. And I stayed another like 4 to 5 months after we reopened. So kind of in a nutshell, that's sort of my journey. And I continue to sort of vacation swing, mostly out on the tour at this point. Sometimes on occasion I'll go back to New York, but that's more rare these days.
Right. I mean, you're an incredible resource for that show, just because
Oh,
you
thank
know it like the back of your hand. That's so cool. Do you have any favorite memories of your time in Wicked? Or I know
Oh
it's
gosh,
still an ongoing thing, but are there any
it
that
is, yeah.
you think about?
Mostly, I would say the friendships. It's pretty cool because it is a show about friendship, and it really did manifest in that way. Some of my dearest friends are from that show and or other shows like Something Rotten. So I think it really is about the people and the relationships. And the show itself is just really fun to do. I have some like fun kind of quirky bloopers, if you will, that stand out in my mind. But I would say my like overarching theme is just the people. It really is remarkable to me, like how you can meet someone like, now almost 15 years ago and still remain really close friends, even if you don't live in the same place. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do think that the nature of like putting on a show just immediately, I don't know if it like trauma bonds people,
Huh.
but it kind of feels that way. We're
Totally.
devoting so much of our time and energy to something, to pulling
Mhm.
it off. And yeah, like you said, those friendships, if you even maintain them in a small way, are extremely meaningful.
I agree. Yeah. That's pretty cool and special.
And I've heard that like theater, the way that the nature of how productions work, it just allows a continuity of friendships in a way that sometimes is absent from the film world. Things could just kind of end there when a production is over. But speaking of the film world, well, we're all convening around the release of Wicked Part 1, the movie. And so, Courtney, what is your impression of that movie upon first viewing?
Yes, I I absolutely loved it. I was like, I think a lot of people who have been involved in the show, the musical production, are maybe like a little bit like, curious, intrigued, maybe a little bit timid in going in. But I had heard from a lot of friends and colleagues who had already seen it when I first saw it. I'd heard that they loved it. So I had a feeling it was going to be pretty awesome. And I really did feel that way. I loved it. I thought it was really beautifully done. Yeah. And I'm actually going to see it again this week with my mom.
Oh, awesome.
Well, you're in good company here. I mean, I think the sentiment is shared more or less
Totally.
all around in this group. Emilio and I are relative newcomers to the IP, but Madeline's the most Wicked literate of the bunch. So, I mean, she can speak better than us to like the strength of the adaptation. But even if you're coming into it pretty fresh, it's still a really wonderful experience of a movie.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any direct involvement with Wicked, but I've been a fan of it for 20 years. So it was very cool. And I even felt like, as someone with no direct involvement, still felt kind of emotional, like seeing it kind of culminate on stage. So I'm sure you, having actually been in the show and been connected with it for so long, really felt that as well.
Definitely. And I think I love hearing that. That makes me happy to hear that, like, uh, I think it really is a communal
Mhm.
show. So whether you've been in it or seen it or heard about it or like been on the crew, like there is like just such a communal aspect to it. I think it's a beautiful
Yeah.
rendition of the story. So I'm glad to hear that you feel the same
Yeah,
way.
definitely. And obviously, film as a medium is very different than stage, and there are things that you can do in film that are more difficult or different on stage. So, do you think there are any benefits of this story being told on film over the traditional stage production, or vice versa?
Yes, I think we get to see things more closely, right? Close up.
Yeah,
It was really cool to be able to see facial expressions more
totally.
just more closely than the musical adaptation. And interestingly, the musical production, they kind of wanted it to be like a
Mhm.
film. That's a challenge to achieve. I think they've done a really nice job, but it's cool to see that expanded in the actual film
Yeah.
version, and to see how they kind of took that from what we learned and heard about from our directors and put it that way into the film version. So I loved that they were able to see faces more clearly, do close-ups, but also do all of those wide shots with all of the ensemble, which are just
Yeah.
rocking, I think.
Definitely.
And, it's just like really magical and powerful. One other thing I was thinking about that it's really cool with the film version is all of the like montages, which can be achieved in stage, certainly, but it's pretty cool how in film you can kind of, seamlessly be in the girls' dorm room and then out in the courtyard or
Yeah,
whatever.
like I think a lot of people online are loving What Is This Feeling? And yeah,
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
that's
Yes,
such a good one for
exactly.
that because you start with the split screen with like each of them in bed, like tossing and turning, and then they're in the dorm,
Love
and
that
then
split
they're like in
screen.
the cafeteria,
Yes.
and it's like a very, very cool like tour of Shiz to really, I think, set the
Yes,
scene.
yes. I agree entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also with I'm Not That Girl, with that whole sequence. I mean, it's more slowly paced, but just the changes of scenery there are
Yeah.
quite considerable too as they
Yes.
happen. Even it's not. It doesn't always have to be like the rapid fire effect that there is for What Is This Feeling. And I guess that that speaks to one of the other strengths of the movie is that it like allows there are these other moments that would have to be very quick in the stage show that they really stretch out. Like I'm forgetting the song right now, but that dance party sequence kind of in the middle of the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, Dancing Through Life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that it feels like an extension of Dancing Through Life, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like
I agree.
the song kind of ends with them leaving, right?
Yeah. I think that's the cool thing too about doing only act one in this, nearly 3-hour movie is that like everything got to be
Yeah.
expanded, which was so cool, including that number, the Dancing Through Life and Ozdas Ballroom sequence. It was like, oh, this is like really cool. And I loved also like the set, how there was like the rotating
Oh,
log, I guess, that they danced
That was
on.
very
I
cool.
was like, that's rad. That
yeah.
was pretty cool too.
We established it's John M. Chu does not want us to call it a hamster
Yeah,
wheel.
he wants to call it a tornado wheel.
Tornado
He had
wheel,
an interview
exactly.
where he was like, people keep calling it a hamster wheel, and I hate that.
Well, tornado is a little more fitting for anything Wizard of Oz related
Exactly.
in general.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Keeping
Yeah.
the vocabulary very on brand. It's
Yes.
obviously going to achieve something that obviously really tricky to do on stage. I want to go back just for a quick second, Courtney, because you said that the directors were interested in making Wicked feel more like a film when you see it on stage. I want to press you on that a little bit.
Yeah.
In what ways? Do you remember? Is there an example you can think
Yeah,
of?
they kind of I did for a little while this interactive thing called Behind the Emerald Curtain, which was a thing at the Gershwin that we did for people who like came through and were interested in learning kind of about like behind the scenes, that kind of thing. And the director and producers mentioned how they wanted it to be done through like a lens almost. So they wanted it to sort of be like little vignettes
Mm.
and kind of montage like. So it's interesting. And I really think that they did do a beautiful job of that, given that it is stage.
Right.
So, but I think that was kind of their goal going into it. And initially, it's actually kind of funny, but they mentioned how initially it was going to be a film, and then they shifted it to a musical. And now, of course,
Back to film.
back to film.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, I think, just kind of the journey Wicked has had in and of itself. But yeah, apparently when they first got together, the creative team, they were like, yeah, we're going to make a film out of this. And then Stephen Schwartz got involved. And of course, the music was just amazing. And they're like, no, let's do this as a musical. So it's kind of cool how it's come full circle.
Totally.
That was sort of their vision anyway, that they talked about.
That is so cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Was there a favorite small detail from the stage production that made its way into the film that you caught that maybe a more casual viewer of the film might have not caught?
That's a great question. I've been thinking about that one as I was like looking over the questions and reviewing them. I'm like, is there? And I've thought of a few things. As an example, I was thinking about in Popular, Galinda grabs Elphaba's glasses and like takes them off and then puts them back on. And I think a lot of Glindas have done that over the years, but I have a specific memory associated with it because my first Glinda, actually, Natalie Deradich, on tour, she would do that. She would take the glasses off and she would say, "I'm just going to put those back." And it wasn't really allowed, but it was so funny.
Okay.
So when I saw that bit happen, I was like, I'm glad that that's
Yeah.
in there.
Cool.
And again, not all Glindas do that, but a lot do.
Yeah, no, and that's the cool thing about a stage production. Like night to night, that can change.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
whoever's performing Glinda in that scene, in that moment, can be like, I'm not doing it tonight.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then bouncing off of that question and looking at some of the more maximal details of the adaptation from stage to screen, well, when it comes to choreography now, were there some things that were identical to what you see on stage, but also on the flip side, were there some things that you noticed were changed drastically, and what do you think was achieved by those changes?
Overall, I must admit that I didn't really catch any choreography in the film that was exactly the same as the stage production. I'm curious when I see it again if I'll catch some things. I think that the same thread is there. I think stylistically it's similar. One thing I loved was in What Is This Feeling? The books are a big part of that number in the stage version. And I loved that they have the books also in the film. But there was so much more dancing and choreography in What Is This Feeling in the film version, which I love. I think that's really cool. And that's always been one of the numbers in the musical adaptation that I think is really well done. I think it's so effective. Whenever I would watch the show, just the way that they choreographed it and blocked it was really cool. And I think that the same thing was achieved in the film, but there was even more choreography, which I also loved. And back to your original questions, I think the style is the same, but I think I loved this choreography. And I thought that it was really grounded, which I loved.
Mm.
There was a lot of like kind of earthy, for lack of a better word, rooted choreography, which I really enjoyed. And so maybe a little less like ethereal than the stage version. I think that tends to be a little more lifted. And this one seemed kind of more earthy, which I really liked.
When you say earthy, ethereal, I kind of get. Like
Mhm.
something comes to mind when I think of ethereal dancing.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't quite have that for earthy dancing. Is there any? Can you expand on that a little more?
Yeah, oh, definitely. There was a lot of if you take like everybody, like all of the ensemble, a lot of the dancing happened at maybe 3/4 of their height. So everything was like rooted from what I could tell. It was
Sure.
like kind of cool stomping and like very rhythmic. That's kind of what I mean, I guess, is like visually, it just seemed kind of closer to the ground.
Yeah.
Got it.
I love how that comes through in the sound design as well. Like you were talking about the books, and
Yes.
you can hear them like tapping on the books, and you can hear the stomping, and so when you say grounded, also, I definitely felt that when watching.
It is, you hear it and you see it and hear it, and it's like, yeah, I don't know, it's almost visceral because you're like, whoa, what is happening here? Yeah,
What is
so I
this
thought that was
feeling?
what is this feeling? Exactly.
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's just, it's funny that grounded should be such an apt term to describe a show that ends with defying
Yeah.
gravity.
Totally. Kind
Yeah.
of ironic, right?
Yeah.
And just describing the appeal of the movie. I mean, the term that I keep wanting to use, and this pun is absolutely intentional, is just gravitas.
Mm,
Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
absolutely. That's
I
excellent.
cannot resist.
Nor should you. I love it.
And Courtney, in your opinion, what characteristics do you think make for a great Glenda and a great Elphaba? And do you think these two actresses achieved that in your mind?
Great questions also. I think that both of them obviously have to be, of course, vocal
Yeah.
powerhouses, right? But I think also they have to be able to convey growth,
Mhm.
particularly Glinda, because she really changes throughout the story. And of course, we're only,
Yeah.
partway through
Right.
from what we've seen so far in the movie. And the same goes for Elphaba as well. And I think that humor is really important. not only for Glinda, but I also think for Elphaba. I think that Elphaba can be really funny. Glinda's obviously the more like forwardly funny one, but I think those things stand out to me, and I think they both crushed it. I was going back and forth with a friend, and he was saying that he kind of expected it from Cynthia Erivo, but was surprised by Ariana Grande, and I
I
tend to
think you
agree.
guys
I
are in the
think
majority with that.
Yes, I think you're right. I think I was blown away by her, but by both of them. But I have seen Cynthia Erivo live, and I know the spectacularness
Yeah.
that she is. Um, I haven't ever seen Ariana Grande live, so I didn't really know what to expect, but I really was blown away by both of them. So,
Yeah. And I kind of forget this too. She's kind of known, I think, now as this sort of like pop star icon.
yeah.
Nobody ever questions her vocal abilities. Like, she's got an incredible voice. But yeah, I think commanding the camera, a lot of people don't necessarily think about with her. And I know, she had a whole child star background as well. And so I think we're kind of seeing some of that come into fruition, I think, as well. I would say too, like you were talking about the idea of growth, which I think is so true. I think it's one of the things that really draws people to this show in general. You are seeing these two people change, and they kind of like change, like they kind of join and then also sort of come apart and maybe come back together, And I was interested too in the way, like my conception of Elphaba, you said, her having to be kind of funny. I felt like Cynthia Erivo was being a little bit more like
Yeah,
downtrodden,
she's more
I think.
wounded, I
From
think.
your experience, having seen a bunch of people portray Elphaba, am I right in thinking that like that's not always the way it's played? She's a little spunkier, I feel like, on stage.
Yes, you nailed it. That's the perfect term, actually. I've been thinking about that a lot, and I agree with you entirely. One thing I loved about the way that Elphaba is portrayed in the film, and I don't know if this is a directing choice or if it's an actor choice or both, probably some combination, but I really was surprised by and enjoyed how calm Elphaba was at the
Yeah.
beginning. It's very opposite from how the direction is in the stage version. The first few lines that she says on stage, she doesn't scream them, but she's very loud and aggressive. And this was not that way, which to me was really powerful because you're like, oh, okay, this person is aware of who she is. The anger didn't come out so much, which I think was really a cool choice.
Hmm.
And again, I don't know whose choice that was. That really stood out to me because I've never seen those first three lines when she says, let's get this over with. I've always been
Yeah.
green. I didn't eat grass as a child. Those,
Right.
which by the way, I thought it was interesting. They inverted the order of those, which was kind of funny.
Okay.
A few like small things like that where you're like, oh, and just because the show
It's
is,
so ingrained in you.
in my brain for better or worse. Yeah. I was like, oh, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because that's normally just so
Yeah.
aggressive, which works. But I thought it was so interesting that it was
Yeah,
much calmer.
I agree. And I think that it kind of makes the Ozdust ballroom scene and the lines between Fiyero and Glinda about how much she cares about the opinion of others. I think that kind of her delivery of those opening lines makes that hit a lot harder, because I do think that if she comes in with this anger, then maybe there is an implication that she cares so much and that's why she's angry. But if she's more measured, then she can maybe play off like, I don't care what others think, in the way that Fiyero kind of puts on her.
Yes, great point. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. And then like I was thinking while watching the movie about how like we're seeing someone who's conventionally an antagonist portrayed as a protagonist. And I think that, well, I just had the thought too that maybe like for watching the stage show, you can view Elphaba as more of an anti-hero, but from the movie, I mean, I was trying to consider like, is this going for that? And is Cynthia Erivo going for that? And I think that like the measuredness, as you put it, Madeline, that she brings to the role really makes that classification more ambiguous, along with a few other aspects of the movie. But I think that Cynthia Erivo's treatment of the character is a really important factor there.
I agree entirely. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, it's interesting. It kind of took me by surprise.
Yeah.
I also think, Ned, I'm going to keep coming back to that term growth, something that you said that is important for these characters to embody. I think there's a way to read the more measured way she delivers those lines as either somebody who's like, I'm doing this out of self-protection, or I'm so used to this that it's kind of rolling off my back.
Yeah.
And so throughout the movie, there's opportunities for us to sort of read her growth coming from a different starting point. Very cool. All good stuff. Real quick, I don't know if you've had any time to think about this, but we've said before, we're only seeing part 1 at this point. Do you have any thoughts, concerns, or like optimism about part 2?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. And this part 1 movie of Wicked, I think is so spectacular. I think it will be hard for them to live up to it.
Yeah.
I think they can totally do it. But I also, in my opinion, Act 1 of Wicked in the stage production version, the musical, is stronger than Act 2.
Yeah.
It's more interesting. It's more dynamic, in my opinion. So I think it will be really interesting to see what they do with Act 2 and how they expand upon the story like they did for Act 1. Because there aren't as many production numbers, not as many costumes and colorful things in the stage version. So I'm really excited and curious to see what they'll do with it. I'm mostly just like intrigued.
Yeah. Just a small tangential question I just thought of from that, though, is do you think that if, say, part 2 of the movie is like does some things that really are like game changing with Act 2, do you think that could like rub off on stage productions after the movie comes out?
That is such a good question, which I had not thought of before. Gosh, I suppose it could. I think I've heard of, I'm trying to think if, did it happen with Frozen?
I was trying
or
to think
another...
that same thing. I was like, I feel like I've heard of this happening with a previous show where they like added an entire song that's not in the original stage production, but was maybe in a movie adaptation. I can't remember what show that was.
I'm in the same boat as you. I'm trying to remember, and I want to say Frozen, but I don't know that.
That's the one that came to my mind as well. So maybe that was it, but I cannot remember.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up and see. I think it would be cool and interesting depending on what happens. But I also know that the Wicked stage thing has, sort of been in existence for so long now that I wonder if they'd be hesitant to change it. I don't know if they would adapt it. I mean, after 21 years, why not? Yeah. I would say, but I don't have the big bucks, so I guess I can't really.
I could also see a lot of people being like separation of church and state. It's like an institution at this point.
Yeah.
I think when people go to see it, it's like you're going to always have the movie and the stage production protect what made the original text such an interesting and rich thing to mine for a film, right? And like keep it the way it is. But yeah, I don't know. Again, too.
Totally.
No, totally. But I have a feeling that is what the consensus would be generally. And I think probably like the producers would feel that way if I had to guess.
Right.
But yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
For sure.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, Courtney, I'm just really curious to get your quick thoughts as someone who's played Nessa on Marissa Bode's performance as Nessa.
Yes, thank you for asking that. That's a great question too. I loved her. I thought that also, just a quick aside, I loved how they had the younger versions of some of the characters too. I thought that was really cool. But yes, I thought it was beautiful and really honest and young.
Yeah.
One takeaway I had from kind of, and Act 1 is, they're all in school, so it makes sense. But I thought all of them played the youth really beautifully. Particularly Nessa. I think that came across even in the vocals, not just the speaking, but like the singing was so young and
there's like an innocence.
Innocent, exactly. But yeah, I thought she was beautiful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Awesome. Courtney, thank you so much for making time to do this. I'm curious, where can people find you if they want to know more about what's going on in the life of Courtney Iventosch?
You're so sweet. Thank you. Yes. I have Instagram. I'm not the greatest at it. It's just my name. So it's at Courtney Iventosch. And I try to post some Wicked things here and there along with other, just life tidbits. Yeah. That's probably like the easiest way to find me, or Facebook, old school,
Yep,
Though I don't do much
still
on there
too.
anymore.
Yeah, it was so great to meet you, Courtney, and it was so cool to talk to you. So thank you, so much for joining us.
Absolutely. It was really my pleasure. It's really fun to talk about it. It's really kind of interesting. So thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Of course.
We want to thank EmKay, Tara, and Courtney for sharing their time and their vast Wicked wisdom with us. In addition to this podcast, you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Sleepless Cinematic Pod. You can contact us via email. We would love to hear from you. Write to us at sleeplesscinematicpod@gmail.com. If you're on Letterboxd, you can follow me, Madeline, at Patroness of Cats.
And you can follow me, Julian, at Julian_Barthold. If you are listening to us for the first time, thank you for finding us. If this is the second or third or 20th time you've listened to us, thank you for sticking with us. We have really grown to love doing this, and it means the world to have our budding listenership grow.
If you haven't already, we'd ask you, return listener, to please write a positive review and rate us on your podcast platform of choice. Short and sweet will definitely work. This is one of the best ways for new listeners to find us and help our podcast take its next steps. You can also keep it grassroots, and you can tell a friend to tell a friend about the Sleepless Cinematic Podcast. That helps too. Guys, we did it. We talked Wicked.
Yeah, I mean,
this is so much
and we
fun.
talked to wonderful people about it.
In our tradition of, ending episodes with lines from the movie, I mean, I don't know if anyone can hit any of those defying gravity notes right now.
Definitely
I am not
can't.
warmed up.
Yeah.
No.
So,
but
giving it lip
something
service will do.
No wizard that is or was will ever bring us down.
There we
right?
go.
Ah.
There we go.